on this Sunday afternoon in the rain down to La Plaza de Cultura y Artes to see the 18th and Grand Olympic Auditorium Story exhibit. It's on the first and second floors. Get a chance before you leave, because on May 19th is the last day of the exhibit of the first floor. So I encourage everybody, tell your friends. It's always free. That's amazing. And the museum, professional museum, LA County, is free. So my name is Gene Aguilera, and before we start our panel here today on the Olympic versus the Forum, it's a very interesting concept. I want to introduce it and say thank you to a few people here. There's Leticia back there, the CEO of La Plaza. Thank you for having us. We're going to miss you guys. And the other curator, the main curator, none other than Karen Cruz-Hendon. Thank you, Karen, it wasn't easy, but we did it, and it's a beautiful.
It's like boxing.
Yes, 15 rounder. Thank you for putting this whole thing together. I just got a compliment from somebody who says, how did you guys decide to do that mural on the elevator doors? And I said that comes from the brainstorming of Karen and Esperanza and La Plaza. So thank you again very much. I just want to introduce a few people in the audience here today. He's got a table next door. Author, actor, businessman. Please welcome, and former boxer. Please welcome Alan Santana. Please welcome the first world champion from East LA proper. I used to love to see this guy at the Olympic Auditorium. He went to Roosevelt High School, and I'm proud to say he's my friend. Please welcome the former WBA lightweight champion of the world, Arturo Frias. Ladies and gentlemen, another great friend of mine, one of the all-time greats in boxing, inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota. From Alhambra, California, by way of Utah, please welcome the one and only Danny Little Red Lopez. One of the greatest, ladies and gentlemen. His robe is on the first floor, so make sure you see it, take a picture of it, because once this comes down, you won't see Olympic Auditorium artifacts like this, I think, for the rest of your life. This is it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend of mine. He's an actor, he's a boxer. Please welcome the former California super featherweight champion, Greg Puente. Ladies and gentlemen, he's on the cover of my first book, Mexican-American Boxing, Los Angeles. He's from Pico Rivera, California. He moved around a lot. Pico Rivera, California, one of the Olympic Auditorium favorites. I was there the night that he knocked out the great Pepino Cuevas. They both threw left hooks, but Herman's landed first. Thank God. Please welcome my friend, Herman Montes.
Those gloves are on display on the second floor.
Yes, everybody go see those gloves that knocked out Pepino Cuevas on the second floor. Okay, I want to turn this over, and we're all going to be in a great panel here together. I'm going to turn this over to my partner in crime, co-curator here at 18th and Grand. He did a great documentary movie that you all got to pick it up before you leave. It's on at La Tienda. He also has some copies here at his table. Please welcome producer-director Steve DeBro.
Thank you, Gene. Thanks, La Plaza. Thanks, Jimena. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks to all you guys for coming out. Just wanted to mention that Gene has 4 books. He has a brand new book. They're all chronicling LA and California boxing history, Latino boxing history, and anyway, well worth a read. So without further ado, this exhibition has been a joy. In making the documentary, I noticed that lots of artifacts were being revealed. I would talk to someone and they'd be like, oh, talk to Frank Aragon here. He has this amazing collection of boxing posters and robes. Talk to, the family of the Destroyer. They have all of his outfits. So all of this is really grew out of this documentary that really, it's really a cultural history project that with a documentary in the middle of it. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to do this exhibition that sort of takes what the documentary started and lets people experience it in their own way over 2 floors. Anyway, Gene and I had this fun idea to talk about the great era of 60s and 70s boxing when the Forum and the Olympic were going toe-to-toe, which was a great boom for fight fans throughout Southern California because you had the old Olympic that had opened in the 20s and the brand new state-of-the-art Forum and different focus for both promoters. And so we brought together a couple of fighters, one of whom was really an Olympic fighter, Carlos Palomino, and one fighter who fought in both places, Alberto Davila, both world champions, to kind of talk about LA boxing during that period, and also just the Forum and the Olympic and the characters behind that. And so anyway, that's what we're about to do. Gene, you want to kick it off?
Yes. Let's start off with Carlos Palomino, who was, one of the darlings of Eileen Eaton, who was a promoter at the Olympic Auditorium. And obviously, Carlos, she saw something in you, and she took you all the way, from 4-rounders to main eventers to a world championship that you won in England against John H. Tracy. You won the world welterweight title. Tell us about your experiences at the Olympic and Eileen Eaton.
Well, it was just an amazing venue, just because of the fans that the Olympic Auditorium drew, especially when it was a big fight, championship fight, and the top level was full. Then you knew you were going to get a bath. You get a beer bath.
Wasn't beer.
I know. That's what they say. I'm going to say beer. And Eileen was just terrific with me. I heard stories. When I got out of the Army, I was the #1 amateur in the United States. I was a national champion, all-Army champion. And I got back home to Westminster, my trainer, Noe Cruz, and Jackie McCoy, and they took me to the Olympic. They introduced me to Eileen because I was going to turn pro. And my first 4-round fight, she was not impressed with me. And she called Jackie after the fight and said, I think we're going to drop this guy. He didn't look very good. I was like, and so Jackie told me that in the gym, and I was like, what do I do? Can I call her and talk to her? So I just went to the Olympic and asked if I could see her. I walked in and she told me, yeah, you look terrible. You're like, you have no style. You're like, I'm like, man, I worked my ass off. I'm a national champion. I beat Sugar Ray Seals, the only gold medal winner in '72. I beat him in Las Vegas. And she goes, well, you didn't show it in this 4-round fight. And I said, can I get a break and see what you think after the next one? And she goes, okay, I'm going to give you one more shot. And then she said, and I heard you're going to school. I said, yeah, I'm in Long Beach State. And I just started, had my first pro fight. I'm carrying, 18 units. And she goes, maybe that's the problem. How are you going to focus on both things? I said, well, I know I can do it. I want to do it. My dream, My mom used to tell me when we immigrated to the United States when I was 10 years old, my mom always said, "Mijo, you can go to school, you can go to school." My dad would say, "Cállate!" What do you mean school? He's going to be a fighter, va a pelear. And I was like, okay, I'll do both. And so she always sat me down after every fight. I'd go see her in the office, and she would tell me I was getting better, and she would ask me how things were going at school. And so she kept me motivated my whole career to the title fight, you know.
Great. Steve.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing because Eileen was famously, known for being a very tough lady. She was not. She didn't suffer fools, and it must have. I'd never heard that story before. That you had to sort of like come and sort of beg for a second chance. But that must have impressed her in some way because I think probably a lot of fighters would have just said, "Okay, well, I'll go fight somewhere else." But that you came to her must have kind of made her think you cared enough to come and talk to her.
Yeah, and Jackie McCoy at the time was managing Mondo Ramos, who was the lightweight champion of the world. And Jackie asked me if I could he was getting ready to defend the lightweight title. He asked me to be his sparring partner. I was going to get paid $20 a round. Are you kidding me? Yeah. and so I would come every day to the gym to get ready to spar, and Mondo never showed up. 5 weeks of training, he showed up the last week and sparred 2 days for a world title fight. And so she used to tell me those stories about how Mondo never listened and he would just do whatever he wanted to do, and that's why he lost his title, and so that kind of motivated me and kind of instilled something in my mind that was never going to be me. I was always going to be focused on my training and focused on school, and once everything was done, I could pursue whatever else I wanted to do and have fun. But at that moment, it was going to be training for boxing and going to school and getting my education. And she always was there for me, asking me how things were going. Are you okay? And so I always had a lot of respect for her.
Now, Alberto, that was not your experience, or was that your experience with the Olympic Auditorium?
Yeah, because I heard a lot about how tough and what kind of woman she was. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I never had much to talk with her. It was always through my manager. But I started my career there at the Olympic, and fought my first fight there, and then I won the championship there, the world championship. And she was always good to me, and I never deal with her. I had the manager to deal with that. But it was a great experience at the Olympic.
So who were your managers over the years?
I started with Howie Steiner, and then he got murdered somewhere on the freeway, I guess, and then Benny Giorgino, and then Robles, and then ended up at the last. It was Carl DeMay. We opened the gym in LA, and I trained his fighters for a few more years. Then I just got out completely.
Yes, Albert, as you said, you got started at the Olympic Auditorium. I used to go see you fight there, and a memorable fight that I saw you, it was titled D-Day because he fought Frankie Duarte. Both last names starting with D. D-Day elimination, and that was quite just an exhibition that you put on against Frankie Duarte. You want to tell us about that fight?
Yeah, D-Day was, they called it that, and I was just ready to fight. I think I knocked him out in 4 or 5 rounds. Wow. But I trained. The fight was hard. I mean, my training was hard. The fight was easy, so I always prepared that way because you never know what's going to happen in the ring. You never know.
Well, you guys are both. I mean, one thing that you seemed like you both learned was if you don't train, you know, your chances go down significantly, and you both are known for being extremely hard workers, wouldn't let anyone outwork you or outprepare you.
Correct. Yeah. You know, I tell when I speak to kids and tell them to fight, you know, train hard and dedicate yourself to it, because you cannot do anything else when you're boxing. It's tough. Carlos going to school. I went to school, and I chose a school of hard knocks instead of. But I've been blessed with you know, able to teach my kids to go to school, and they did. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes, Carlos, again, you had a great career. You defended your title 8 times, successful times. Your first title defense was against Manda Muñiz. And we have a great, on the second floor here at La Plaza, there's a great pictorial of color pictures and a poster that's fantastic that documents that first fight. Also, I just want to fast forward. Carlos retired in 1980. He fought Roberto Duran at Madison Square Garden. And Carlos said, hey, I made a promise to my mother that I would quit boxing at age 30. Whatever, come what may, whatever happens, wherever I'm at, I'm out. I'm out of the game at age 30. Fast forward to 1997. Carlos gave me a call one Sunday morning. Woke me up. I think I stayed out late that Saturday night. And he says, hey, what are you doing? I go, I'm just waking up. He goes, get yourself down to the Westminster Boxing Gym and help me out on something. I said, you know, I figured he's just going to, loosen up and work out. We'll go have a beer afterwards. But when I got there, I helped him with his gloves, and he was doing some sparring. He put his mouthpiece, and he told me later, Gene, I'm making my comeback at age 47. Look at him now, ladies and gentlemen. He fought at 147. He still looks at 147, but he had an incredible comeback. He won 4 fights in a row, a couple at the Hollywood Palladium, one up in Bakersfield, and his last fight at age 48 was at the Olympic Auditorium. Tell us about that, Carlos.
Well, it's just, it was a really kind of difficult time in my life at that time. My dad passed away. But going back, I lost my little brother Paul in that plane crash in Poland. Broke my heart, and it's still really difficult to think about. I think about him all the time. And then my dad passed away in 1995. I was 47, and he was the one. He was the one who drove me. I long story short, he wanted one of his 6 boys, 6 girls in the family. He wanted one of his kids to be a fighter. He loved the sport. I wanted to play baseball, and I made the varsity team, my high school, my freshman year in high school. And he found out I was playing. He made me quit. He told me, "There's no, nadie va a jugar juegos aquí en esta casa. You're gonna get anything. Si vas a jugar algo, vas a boxear. Si no, vas a trabajar." Then I had to get a part-time job after school, and I told him, I'm never gonna fight. You can kill me. I'm never gonna be a fighter. But I had all that teaching from early, So I get drafted in the Army, and then it just all came kind of natural to me. And so,
let me interrupt you. You told me this before, that one of the reasons you got drafted, and you were told, hey, if you keep winning, you don't have to go to Vietnam.
Well, I had orders to go to Vietnam, and I walked in the gym. They said, you make the team, you don't have, we'll change your orders. You don't have to go to Vietnam. So I said, sign me up. and I won it. And then they sent me to the All Army tournament. I won that. So I just came kind of natural from all that experience as a kid with my dad. And so when he passed away, I was just like heartbroken, and I thought, how can I honor him the best? Well, how can I honor him the best way. And I thought, I know, I'm going to make a comeback. and that's what started it, you know. And I went back to Westminster Boxing Club, and Noe Cruz and Jackie McCoy were still there. And I told them what I wanted to do, and they were like, really? But you're 47. I know. I said, but I'm not. Since I retired from boxing, I started running. I ran 9 marathons. I ran New York Marathon, LA, San Diego. I went all over the country running marathons like an idiot. Now my knees, I have no knees. And so, you know, I can get up and run 10 miles and with no problem. So they said, all right, let's do it. So, you know, and like you said, I had those, I had five first 4
Knockouts.
won them all by knockout, and the 5th fight was the number 1 or 2 contender.
You just fought Oscar De La Hoya.
He just fought Oscar, and I saw the fight, and Oscar stopped him like in the 9th round or 10th round. And then I went to the gym the next day and I said, Jackie, give me that fight. I can beat that guy. I just saw him fight Oscar, and so, you know, months later, they made the call, and he accepted the fight and got the fight. You know, I lost the decision. It wasn't bad. I thought I was in the fight the whole time, but I knew going back to the corner after the 10th round that was it. That I think that I had done enough to make my dad proud.
Carlos, and not to make excuses for you, but you had a 7-month gap where you didn't fight, which is a long layoff when you're 48 years old.
Yeah.
And also, you had an earache in your right ear that day, and you know, your equilibrium was off. And not to make excuses, Carlos was in the fight. It was a decision. I think Carlos was, you know, had maybe a quick tune-up and didn't have that earache. It could have been a different result that night.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But I was satisfied. Number 1 guy in the world, and he told everybody he was going to knock me out.
Right.
In fact, he told everybody in front of me in the press conference that he was going to knock me out. I was an old man.
So, Alberto, so you fought at both the Olympic and the Forum. How would you describe the difference?
I enjoyed more the Olympic. It was more like for 5 people, you know, the arena, the ring in the middle with the fans going up. The Forum is, I remember, a long walk.
Just bring it closer to your mouth.
A long walk to the ring, but you know, it's the same. But I enjoyed the Olympic more, you know.
Now, Gene, you never, Carlos, you never fought at the Forum.
I never fought at the Forum, but I went to the Forum a lot to watch fights, and I think what the difference was, the fans. You know, the Forum fans were more civilized.
Going back to your fight with Muniz, I remember you telling me that Armando was the crowd favorite, and so what was that like? So you you told me this before, but tell the crowd the sort of your coming out for that fight.
Well, I have to give you the backstory. So when I first went to this boxing gym in Orange County, Mondo trained there, and actually my trainer, Noe Cruz, who became my trainer, was training Mondo at the time. So he asked me if I could spar, and I hadn't really ever sparred as an adult. My dad put the gloves on me when I was a kid, so I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So Mondo needed sparring. He was getting ready for a fight. He was like 9-0, I think, and he just beat the crap out of me. And so then I come back the next day, go pendejo, I put him on again. And so until I had to report to the military for 2 months, I worked with Mondo and I sparred with him. And every day I got my butt kicked. And fast forward 1979, I'm getting ready to defend the title against Armando Muniz.
And this is your first title defense,
First
right?
title defense
At the Olympic.
At the Olympic. At the weigh-in, also at the Olympic. He's telling everybody that he's going to knock me out. wanted to remember those days way back. And I was like, oh, man, he's really being disrespectful. And so then after the fight, we're in the dressing room, and Jackie's telling me, okay, you know this guy's style, you remember sparring with him. You're gonna box, just stay on the outside, keep him outside with the jab, come in combination, get outside angles. And so I said, Jackie, I'm gonna kick his ass in his own game. I'm gonna beat him in his own game. He goes, Carlos, that's stupid, don't do that. That's his game, that's what he does. I said, I don't care. So yeah, so I went in, I fought it, I was inside, we were mixing it up, elbows, everything, and I go back to the corner after the 7th round, and Jackie says, we just checked the scorecard, you lost every round. He goes, you gonna do what you were supposed to do now? I said, oh, damn, okay. So then I went out and I changed my style, I stayed on the outside, and ended up stopping him with like 10 seconds to go in the 15th round. It was supposed to be fight of the year in 1977, so that was it was incredible. Yeah.
So Gene, can you answer? So you went a lot to both places.
Yes.
Talk about the difference in atmosphere between the Olympic and the Forum.
Well, going to the Olympic was like a reality show. It was rough. There was fights. There was beer thrown. There was just a lot of. I was so hardcore in boxing. I went to the Olympic by myself one time on a Saturday night to see Salvador Sanchez, the only time that he had fought at the Olympic Auditorium against Juan Escobar from Tijuana. And I went by myself because nobody knew who Salvador Sanchez was at that time. And I had been reading the papers and hearing about what a great fighter he was. So I went by myself, and man, I had to park a block away, and then I'd look over my shoulder every chance I could. It was dark and danky and smelly, but I loved it. I saw Albert fight there many times. I saw Carlos fight there many times. And also, I went to the Forum many times, and I was going to ask Alberto a question. Eileen Eaton was the promoter at the Olympic Auditorium, and she catered to more of the Chicano, Mexican-American crowd. And George Parnassus, who the Golden Greek, who promoted at the Forum, he catered to the Mexican crowd, like Pepino Cuevas, Ruben Olivares, Carlos Zarate. That was the crowd that he was going for. And of course, the Forum had 18,000 people, and the Olympic had 10,400 people. But Albert, I saw you fight at both venues. I love the story that you told me when you fought Lupe Pintor, and you gave him his first loss. But tell us a little bit about how your wife saw him one time, and she reported to you afterwards.
Pintor and I fought in the same card, and she was very impressed with him. She was there watching me and watched him, and very impressed. So then I come home one afternoon and said, hey, guess who I'm fighting? She goes, who? Pintor. She told me recently, now, back then, that she was, worried for me because she saw how good he was, and she was very impressed with him. But I ended up beating him, but when I told her about who I'm fighting, she really, really got scared. But that's part of boxing, I wanted to be a world champion. I wanted to be when I started boxing at 12 years old, I was 12, and I walked into the gym in Pomona, Sacred Heart Athletic Club, and the director's kid, Tony Sarah Jr., was only 9, I was 12. But I only weighed 63 pounds wet, and Tony Jr. was only 9, but he'd been training forever. He beat the crap out of me. But we trained together, we did moves together, combinations, we learned how to defend and execute. And then he could never do nothing to me again. He was always crying. So. But at that age, at 16, I think. I ran, I was going to Gary High School. I raced cross country, did track, distance. Running was easy for me, and at 16 I wanted, I was a national champion. I fought on the against the Russians in 1970, and I lost my fight, but we won as a team 6-5. And I wanted to be an Olympian in 72, but I had a fight told me that I lost, and then I said, well, it's over. I had raised my hand. They told me I lost, and I just decided to amateur. I'm done with it, and went to LA and turned professional myself on my own.
What did Lupe Pintor say after the fight?
Roberta said that my wife was Roberta. She told me that she saw him come and sit down, and he looked so disappointed. But we ended up fighting again in 1980 for the world title. He won a decision over me.
Did he ever talk to you again after that?
No, that time that I beat him to the time in 1980, no, he didn't. If I would see him at shows, he would just turn away from me.
You gave him his first loss, that's why.
He didn't want nothing to do with me. And now we see each other. That day we saw each other at an event, book signing event, and the first thing he did was hug me and congratulate me.
All good.
Everything's good. We're not mean.
So Carlos, let's Mondo Ramos. So Mondo Ramos was the biggest star of the Olympic from the 1960s. He came along at a time when boxing had been down, and in '65 he made his debut. Around the same time, boxing started getting televised again from the Olympic Auditorium, which was Eileen Eaton's big push. He doubled down and bet on boxing when boxing was really sort of at a low point. But Mondo was a legendary character, legendary for his, as you sort of demonstrated, his lack of discipline in the ring. But you told me a story about when you were training with him and you started pushing him a little bit, maybe too hard. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, and that was my first time we sparred. I was like, I was so I was like in awe. This is Mondo Ramos, and I'd heard about him, and the guy was like incredible talent. If he had had some discipline, he probably would have been champion for years and years and years and years. I remember I stepped into the ring, and I just wanted to impress Jackie McCoy and Noe Cruz, and I was going hard, really hard, and Mondo was just like just running around and just playing with me. But then after we sparred 4 rounds, and 4 rounds it was just like he just played around in the ring. And I got out of the ring, and he looked at Jackie McCoy and he goes, "You better sign that guy. He's gonna be good." So that was I got some props, and after that it was like, okay, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna do this for real. And so I was, except that Mondo didn't show up. I remember the last title fight at the Olympic when he got carried out.
That was against Ismael Laguna? No. Help me, somebody. Against
Mexico.
No.
Lightweight.
Chango Carbona.
Chango
Carbona.
And the first couple of rounds, he just played with Chango like he did with me. But then he ran out of gas after 2 rounds. And he went to the ropes, and Chango just killed him and ended up. And he had to be carried out in a stretcher and taken to the hospital. But he drank while he was when he was training. Jackie would go. They would take him to a training camp, try to get him away from everybody, and he said he would knock on the door for training, and he'd open the door, walk in, you see beer cans under the bed. So he just, I don't know, tremendous talent. I think, even though I don't know, he was like 3 times lightweight champion of the world, still could have been a lot more.
Didn't he? He punished you for pushing him hard with a low blow. Was that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think the first round I was working, and then all of a sudden, bam, I get hit low. And then Jackie knew Monzo really well. So, Monzo, what are you doing? Tell him to slow down. He's working too hard. But yeah, so that was Monzo. And I remember he made a comeback as well, and he was training in Santa Ana, and I was living in Westminster, and I'd go to Santa Ana and help him with sparring. And one night I get a call about 8 o'clock at night. He goes, "Hey, you live in this is your area, right?" I said, yeah, I grew up out here. He goes, "Well, come and pick me up, man. Let's go. I said, "Mama, you got a fight in a week." He goes, "What are you, goody two shoes or what?" I said, "Okay, Monzo, I'm not coming. Go to bed."
Good.
I want to ask Alberto Davila a question, former WBC bantamweight champion of the world. Albert, I've always admired your persistence. Your first title fight was against Carlos Sadet at the Forum. It was you were leading that fight. You buckled his knees in the 4th round, but he ended up coming back in the 8th round and knocking you out. That was your first attempt. Your second attempt was against Lujan in New Orleans, right? And that didn't go well, but it was a close fight. Could have went either way, maybe. Third fight, championship against Lupe Pintor at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, right? And that was also a close fight that Pintor pulled it out. Fourth fight, you hit the bingo. It was a sad night, though, when you defeated Kiko Bejinas at the Olympic Auditorium. I was there for that one. And you had a 5th try for the title at the Forum. Tell us about your fight against Happy Lora, and what about the anti-doping test that afterwards? What'd you think of that?
I didn't like it. They take urine specimens after each fight for the fighters, and they check for drugs. And his they take two vials, and then his came out. First one dirty, the second one dirtier. So why have rules and regulations don't bite by them? And I trained with all my might to win a title, to better myself, my family, and I loved it. I could tell you, it's just something that I love to do. I went through some hard management, and you want to become champion, but you'll do anything you can. But it was just hard, and even the championship fight, I never celebrated it because of the tragedy that happened, and it's something that I'll never forget. It'll stay with me, and but the thing is, I enjoy boxing so much that to this day I've never seen a contract of any of my fights. You sign contracts, for each fight, purse wise, who you fight in rounds, and to this day I've never seen one. When I did ask for one. When I was champion, they told me why. When I said, may I see a contract? Can I sign the contract? And why? So it's a sport that's very, very demanding, very hard. But if you'd like to do it, you got to get into it. It's a beautiful sport. To me, it's beautiful, but it's very, very demanding and very hard.
Should we take some questions from the crowd?
Sure.
Anybody have any questions?
Let's go.
Albert, question. You were stablemates with Danny Little Red, and during that time that you guys were at the Main Street Gym, you sparred a couple of times. You're a bantamweight, he's a featherweight. How was the sparring sessions with Danny Little Red?
Very hard. I tell you, I had 66 professional fights, and I fought some of the best fighters in the world, and I never been hit as hard as Danny hit me in the gym one time with big gloves on. And I think he knew it hurt me, but I tell you, he sapped all my strength, and then just walked away from me. I was saying up and help me. But yeah, Danny was very, very the hardest puncher I ever felt, so. And I've been hit by some good punchers, but this guy was the hardest. Yeah, right.
Can you tell us about your relationship with Jackie McCoy? What did he do that was so much different than any other trainer? Because he was so successful.
I had my original trainer was Noe Cruz,
Yeah.
and when I got to the gym, Noe told me, "I've never had a professional fighter, so I don't know what to do." He goes, "But the best guy in the world is Jackie McCoy, and so let's get a hold of Jackie and see if he'll take you on." And we got a meeting with Jackie McCoy, so he said, "What's your story?" So I told him, I'm all-army champion, all-service champion, national youth champion. He goes, "That doesn't mean anything to me." And I got to see you in the gym. So he came to Westminster and watched me spar. And he said, "All right, man, I think you got possibilities. We're going to sign you." So he signed me, and he was just Noe Cruz. To me, was one of the best trainers in the world. Because he trained amateurs, but he trained he taught you technique, and Jackie McCoy was the same way. So they hit it off together. So then I had two of the best boxing minds in the world working with me, and so it was everything. When I got out of the Army, I fought a national youth style, where I just threw a lot of punch, no power. I had 35 amateur fights. I think I had one stoppage, but I won 35 of them out of 34. 35, I won 34, I lost one. But I just threw punches, arm punches, fast, quick, move, and Jackie told me, "If you fight like that as a pro, you could get killed. Your style has got to change." So we spent 6 months in the gym just setting down on my punches, learning to turn on my punches, and learning to pivot, using my whole body to punch. And that came from Jackie and Noe together. And I used to come forward, just straight forward. And they also got me boxing. They got me moving so I could using angles. And that was a success for me, because I don't think that anything would have happened if I had stayed in the style that I had as an amateur.
One thing you told me, I remember, was that you had a unique way of training for your world title fight against Stracy. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I fought Hedgeman Lewis at the Olympic Auditorium, and I think it was my 20th fight. He had 60 professional fights, something like that, and we fought to a draw. And I was in the dressing room after the fight, and I told Jackie, "Give me a rematch." And he goes, "You just had a fight, you want a rematch?" He goes, "Yeah, give me a rematch as soon as you can." So I said, go talk to Arlene right now. So I went, he wants a rematch. So we signed to fight a rematch in 6 weeks after that fight. So it was a draw, and it was a war. And 2 weeks before the fight, we get a call from Eileen, and she says, "We need to let Hedgeman out of the contract because he just got an offer to fight for the title in London against John Stracy." And Jackie goes, "Well, you gotta pay Carlos something to let him out of the contract, because So they gave me $2,000, dropped the contract, and then Jackie told Eileen, get us a title fight against the winner." So she called the promoter in London and told him, "We'll let him out of the contract, but you have to promise a title fight against for Carlos Palomino, whoever wins. If Hedgeman wins, he's got to fight Carlos. If John Stracy wins, he's got to fight Carlos." And they agreed. And so he went to London and got knocked out in the 6th round. Came back, and we were like, and I saw the fight on TV, and John Stracy looked really strong. And so we called Hedgeman and sat down with him. I said, "What happened, man? You look like you didn't train a week for the fight. You're in the 6th round, your legs were gone." He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, I trained my ass up, but I was training for you, he said. And then I go over there, I'm in shape, but he said, the guy is strong. He was pushing me. My legs were gone by the 6th round. So then I said, all right. So Jackie and Noy they were with me at the meeting. So we went back to Westminster Boxing Club, and Noy Cruz said, okay, I got an idea. I know what we're going to do. And Noy was 6 feet. He's about 190 pounds. And said, we're going to wrestle after you finish your workout, after you spar, after you hit the bag, after everything, you're going to get in the ring and we're going to wrestle. I said, what do you mean? Because you're going to wrestle with me. So we would get in the ring, put our arms on each other's shoulders and just push back and forth, 4, 5, 6 rounds. I mean, I would get home. I was exhausted. It was hard to get up and run in the morning. So we did that for 6 weeks prior to flying to London. So that first round, John Stracy came at me, tried to push me, and I was like, get off me, man. What are you? You're like a little fly, man. and you know, I was just, that was the only time in my whole career that every time I went to the corner, Jackie would say, just keep doing what you're doing. We can't tell you anything. And so it was, that addition to the training was amazing.
Carlos, an interesting story around the Stracy fight. Right before the Stracy fight for the title in England, you fought against Andy Price in San Diego.
Andy Price was my 6th fight in my career.
Oh, okay, so it was a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, it was
okay.
I was 8-0 when I fought Andy in San Diego. Actually, you know, I was supposed to fight at the Olympic, and the opponent fell out, and I told Jackie, you got to give me a fight, man. You know, I need the money. I was going to school on GI Bill. I was getting $100, $110 a month for the GI Bill. I was working part-time, and I was making $80 a fight. So that was that fight was going to be 8 rounds, and it was going to be $300. So I said, I can beat him, take the fight. And I used to spar with Andy at the Hoover Street Gym. And so I thought, I can beat him. So we took the fight. And it was my first loss. And the first time I got dropped too. And I was like, it really motivated me to change. Up to that point, I was not running the way that I started to run after that, because I got really tired in the 8th round. I mean, I could hardly stand up, and he just hit me. He caught me on the side of my head, and my glove touched the mat, and they called it a knockdown. So after that, I went to school the next day with my stunt glasses. I was all beat up. And I was sitting in the back of my class, I don't remember what class it was. And my teacher knew that I was a fighter. She goes, okay. She goes, okay, Carlos, take your glasses off. And I'm like, I had a fight last night. Take your glasses off. And I took them off there. Oh! So then I went to the track coach at Long Beach State. And they say, oh, we know you're a fighter. So I was, I'm having trouble with my wind and the end of fights. I need some help. Explain to me what I have to do as a runner to get better condition. And he said, well, come run with us. I'm running with a bunch of kids who are like, running a 100-yard dash to 600s, 400s, and they're all running around me and laughing. They're laughing at me. And I used to run in my combat boots in the Army. That's what we did. And I showed up in my combat boots, and he's like, dude, come on, get those off. The guy, he loaned me a pair of running shoes. He told me, you gotta buy some running shoes. And so then that's where I started to learn. I learned how to really run with the Long Beach State track team.
So I know that for a lot of, you were exclusively an Olympic Auditorium fighter.
Yeah.
Were you ever either approached, or did you ever think about fighting for the Forum?
No, the forum was not going yet. You know, it hadn't started. There was no boxing at the forum. But by the time I retired, I don't think it started yet. It started in the 80s. I retired in 1979, so never had it. But, you know, I would have loved to have fought there. It was an amazing venue.
But Eileen would not have looked kindly on that.
Well, yeah, no, she won though.
Yeah, you told me one thing that mattered a lot to Eileen was loyalty.
Loyalty, exactly, yep.
Carlos, you were the WBC welterweight champion of the world. Pepino Cuevas from Mexico City was a WBA welterweight champion of the world. There was talk that you guys were going to fight at the LA Coliseum, which would have been amazing. 90,000 people would have been there.
Yeah.
Why didn't that get made?
Money. Yeah. Actually, Pepino and I and his people and Jackie and all, we met to talk about a possible fight because you know I had like 7 title defenses, he had like 8, and you know we wanted $1 million each, you know, which Sugar Leonard was already on the path, and I know he was fighting, you know, 6-round fights on ABC, making, you know, $200,000 per fight. You know, I was like, man, I made $80 my first fight. And so we were asking for $1 million apiece, and yeah, and they were offering us 100. Yeah. So we looked at each other and said, you know what? Let's keep it going. Maybe you get 10, I'll get another 10 defenses, and maybe it'll change in a year or so. And you know, yeah, that just never happened. You know.
So is there room? Anyone else have a question? We've just had about 5 minutes left.
I have a question for Albert. When you fought for the first time, what was going through your mind? Because the magnitude of that fight was huge. I mean, he was one of the Mexican idols at that time, alongside Carlos Zarate, with Ruben Olivares. What was your strategy coming into that fight?
Well, I remember training, doing a lot of sidestepping, a lot of spinning around, countering, stuff like that, and that's the way I fought him. And I upset him, you know, and it was a great fight. And I tell you, my wife saw him come sit after the fight, close to her, and she saw the dejection in his face. You know, he was really upset. And up to the point when I fought him in 1980, he had talked to me. He was mad at me for beating him. But you know, it's a thing that happens in boxing. You know, we have no animosity towards any fighter we fight. As a matter of fact, we become friends and keep in good touch, good relationships. But when the ring comes, the fight comes, it's a different story because I remember early in my career fighting, just excited to fight, wanted to fight every week if I could. But then later in my career, I started getting, you know, older, more wise, and meaner as the fight got close. I used to have to leave my home sometimes for 2 weeks before a fight, especially in the latter part of my career, because I'd get so angry at everything, you know, and kids would make a move or say something, my wife would look at me wrong, poor thing, you know, and just, you know, give them a lot of credit for supporting me and what I did, because believe me, it's very hard, you know.
Yeah, question for Carlos. One thing, I come from a rural area, and all you boxers were like heroes to us. So we were fighting a lot of things we felt wrong were going to us. You guys were showing that we were just as good, if not better than anyone else. And then you, when you became a college graduate, the first world champion ever as a college graduate, you were a bigger example for families that said, be like Carlos. Do you ever reflect on that?
I've heard that, and it makes me proud. Especially, you know, like I say, where my dad says, "Escuela, cállate." You know, so I do, you know, and I do a lot of. I get asked a lot to come and speak to young kids, especially in the Mexican communities, schools, elementary schools, high schools, even junior colleges, and I've been asked to go to prisons. And so I always try to let these kids know that education is very important for themselves. They don't have to, because your mom and your dad are telling you, you gotta go to school, you gotta go. It's not for them, it's for you. That's what I tell them. They have to understand that it's for them, it's for their future, not anybody else's. And so, yeah, that's important. And when I speak at schools, the kids always come up to me and thank me for being there, for letting them know. And they always ask me, was it hard? Yeah, it was hard, but that's what I wanted to do. And then if you make a decision and you implement it in your own mind, then you can do it. You just gotta figure out that that's what you want to do, and not allow distractions. Because one of the things that where I grew up in Westminster, there was a barrio in Westminster, a little part of the city, and that's where we hung out. And all those guys that I went to high school with, they all ended up getting jobs in construction, and nobody went to school. And we would go on the weekend to the park, and we'd have pick up football games, pick up softball games, and they all, hey, come on, college boy. They all thought they were making fun of me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem. So yeah, I think a lot of my community, especially that community in Westminster, it was very proud. They're very proud to say Carlos Palomino used to play at this park and came here, went to Westminster High School with me. So I have a lot of those guys that are really good friends of me still.
Carlos, will we hear all these qualities see these qualities in your new biopic that you're working on, in your movie?
Well, yeah, well, just so you all know, somebody approached me about doing my life story, doing a film. Actually, a long time ago, I was doing a film, Geronimo, with Robert Duvall, Gene Aguilera, and Robert Duvall's right-hand man, who ran Robert Duvall's production company. One Saturday, we were sitting down having lunch, and he was asking questions about my career, how I got started in boxing. And so he looked at me and was, wow, that's a story, that's a movie, man. Did he ever talk to you about doing a film? I said, no. He goes, well, let me give you a number when you get back home after the film. Let's talk. So he's the one that's been running with the idea of doing a film. We've had a couple of meetings with studios. They don't want to make my movie. They want to change it and do something else with it. So we decided we were going to try to make it ourselves. And through a crowdfunding, idea is that you put up a website and people can go on it. And if they want to invest, they can invest. So that's what we're doing. It's PalominoMovie.com. Minimum investment is $200. You get.
I did.
You get stock in the company, and you get your name in the credits. Huh?
I did.
Real
quick, Steve, before we break up class here, I just want to acknowledge two ladies in the house that I didn't the first time. She's the daughter of a great Los Angeles featherweight contender back in the 50s, and he fought Pajarito Moreno in a great fight at Wrigley Field, or Gilmore Field. Please welcome the daughter of Jose Luis Cotero, Becky Cotero. Thank you for being here.
But before we go, I just got to say one more thing.
Yes.
Just so you all know, we're going to do something with the film Palomino that's never been done before. Once we get it done, we're going to do a pay-per-view event to premiere it. So you'll sit at home, pay $9.95. You watch the movie with your six-pack.
I'm in.
We got over 1 million subscribers for pay-per-view. I've done appearances for fights with this guy who's gonna do it for me. So that's so look for it. Thank you.
I'm all in. One more. Where's Paco? Paco, I just saw you over here. Where is he? Oh, he got out. He left. Yes, Greg.
So I just wanted to say this is kind of a story with a question. Anyway, the question is in 1986, Alberto Davila had a title shot in Barranquilla, Colombia, and I was a 10-0 pro. So lo and behold, he took me because they wanted a fast guy like Miguel Lora, who was going to fight Miguel Lora. So when we went, I panicked because I had never left the country. We had to get Danny Lopez was my manager. He managed my whole career, so we had to get passports, which were like $10 back then. That was so we went to Barranquilla, Colombia, and then the flight to Colombia, as we were landing, the pilot came on and said, we're going to be landing in about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm sitting at the window seat, I'm looking out, and everything's dark, and I'm just, well, where are we going to land? There's no lights. I'm looking everywhere. It's like jungle. So I already panicked. We landed. Albert and Dan are trying to calm me down. I'm 20 years old. I'm going as a professional sparring partner. I got a title fight when I come back and fight. If everything goes well and we make it back alive, then I'm going to fight for my title. So this was instrumental for me. So we went. Albert became an icon over there, even though with all the opposition. I thought we were going to die because it's Colombia. I said the cartels, there's alligators at the golf course. Him and I ran at the golf course every morning in Albert, and there's alligators. And bathing in the water around the golf course. And I'm saying, we're going to run here? So Albert just kept telling me to calm down. I panicked the whole time, the whole 12 days. I did nothing but panic. And I sparred with Albert the whole time. He was an icon. They mobbed him everywhere we went. They followed us. Every single day we made the newspapers, him and I, in the newspapers, and Danny. And then he fought for the world title there in the Coliseum with 80,000 people. And guess what? There was only 4 of us. Only 4 of us went. He had 4 fans.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Last but not least, we have a world champion here in the women's division. Please welcome the IFBA Junior Flyweight Champion of the World, Cindy Amador, La Campeona. World champion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I didn't want to go without acknowledging you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you to be here along with these amazing champions that my dad always told me about their fights. And it's very exciting to hear all the amazing stories, you know. It's a proud moment for me as well. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Let's thank Carlos Palomino. Alberto Davila. Gene Aguilera. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
The museum's open until 5. The gift shop's open now. There's also more stuff. We've got stuff. So please enjoy yourselves and thank you all very much.